Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the Sensitive Stability BPD Live Show, where we talk about a different topic related to borderline personality disorder each morning at 7 a.m. US EST, Monday through Friday. My name is Kevin Reynolds. For those of you who don't know me, I am a BPD survivor. I have been in remission for 6.5 years, somewhere around there. No episodes, no splits, no symptoms whatsoever. We call that full remission here at Sensitive Stability. Now, today is going to be about relationship trauma. Our Tuesdays, good morning. David is here, Liz is here. So far, if you guys have any, and good morning, everybody. I see you guys. Hi, Nikki. If you have any questions, please direct them towards David Keck, our trauma coach at Sensitive Stability, or Miss Liz. So with that said, relationship trauma, BPD and relationships, right? We want to be in a relationship. We want to spend our life with someone. That's part of the problem when we're pre-remission, because we want it almost so bad that we're willing to sacrifice whatever to have it. Post-remission, we still don't want to be alone. We still want a relationship to work. We want to feel good about ourselves. We want to feel good about, where we are in life. And a lot of times we still want to share our lives with somebody. It doesn't change that part. Most people do. People reach out to people. That's just human nature. It's for us to stand on top of this world and look off into space and imagine the next and reach out to that world. Life reaches out to life. Well, that basic model is the human design. When we're hurting, we reach out for our friend. You pick up your phone, you call a friend, right? And when you want to share something, you look for love, right? Because we want to share happiness with someone. And that is a perfectly acceptable goal. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about when it's not working. We're talking about when we have problems in our relationship. And we're talking about the residual nature of those problems, okay? So in this case, when you have borderline personality disorder involved, I want you to understand something here. If you're in a relationship and you have BPD, it's not just you and your partner in the relationship. It's you, your partner, and BPD in the relationship. There are three entities in that relationship, okay? And there's no simple, easy way around that. You have to treat the relationship with BPD if you want to get better. And if you want a relationship to survive with BPD, then you're going to have to start understanding the trauma that the BPD has created and the way that the relationship has inflamed the BPD, because that goes hand in hand, right? On one side, we have what BPD has done to the relationship. On the other hand, we have what BPD has done for the relationship, okay? And that said, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just making sure everything's right here. Look, everybody who wants to be in a successful relationship and they have BPD, they're going to have to start understanding that your life, okay, the way that you live your life has impacted the way that other people view us, right? That makes sense. Now, and you should be able to pin now, Liz. Thank you for your patience, guys. We have to be able to take accountability for our situations. We have to be able to take accountability for our circumstances, but we have to also understand that our circumstances don't define us. And see, where do we draw the line here? I'm telling you, on one hand, be responsible. Be responsible for everything in the relationship so that BPD can survive in the relationship in a good way. Okay? Tackle and be responsible for where BPD has created problems in the relationship, because everybody thinks that BPD is just destroying the relationship, but that's not true. BPD is also fostering a positive relationship too. We just don't have time to revel or celebrate in it because we're too busy messing everything up every other day. You know what I mean? You've done a good job. You've told them, look, I'm going to be here forever. I'm loyal to you, right? BPD people, very loyal, very passionate. You've treated them very well. You have dumped energy and passion into the relationship that has been a glue that has cemented you two together. We also have to understand that there's bad parts of BPD affecting it. Mark says, oh God, my girlfriend has BPD. What do I do? Because one day she's happy and the next day she's not. Mark, I understand, man. And that's exactly what we're talking about here today. It's relationship trauma. You are starting to experience it, my friend. You are starting to experience it. You start out by saying, oh God. In other words, this has been bad. This has been tough. I'm having a problem. My grievance is that one day she loves me tremendously. The next day she doesn't, right? That is the nature of BPD, Mark. I'll tell you why this is happening. It's because you love and care in a different way than your girlfriend. Your girlfriend with BPD is going to love and care differently. Her needs are going to be different. What she wants out of the relationship, different. And that kind of structure is difficult because both people are chasing each other constantly. When she's having an upset because she doesn't feel like her needs are being met, you're going to chase her a little bit for right now, right? And when you're not chasing her, she's going to be chasing you, trying to show you how much she loves you, trying to convince herself that you're never going to leave. You see, this type of dynamic is going to go back and forth, weaving in, weaving out. And it's just going to create this structure which creates trauma. And that trauma machine, if you will, is not going to stop until both people are driven directly into the ground. So it needs to be addressed. It needs to be handled. It needs to be looked at. And if you just ignore things like this, that's why the relationships fail. Too much residual trauma builds up over time, and eventually it's unsustainable because all you see when you look at the other person is negativity. You can't go so far having only negative experiences before eventually it snaps in half. So we have to do something about it, right? We've got to. Silly dill pickle. Anyone else with BPD have a hard time keeping jobs? Yeah, silly, of course. And this does fit into this morning's topic. The topic is relationship trauma, because when you depend on someone else, you need them to be stable. You need them to be stable. And a lot of times, one of the reasons that our careers don't work out when we have BPD, or our jobs don't work out, good morning, Laura, good morning, Cassie, is because we are loose cannons and we make irrational, impulsive decisions. And when we make those decisions, they have consequences that affect the relationship. When you are going in and out of careers, in and out of jobs, fired, quit this one, quit that one, because this guy said this, they disrespected me, whatever it may be. Plus, we have all the relationship drama inflaming everything about us to the point where, we're heading head on into a job, feeling like crap because we fought all weekend with our partner. You think you're going to keep that job? You think you're going to perform well? The relationship trauma stretches into all aspects of your life. It makes you question other relationships. If you are a partner, most of the time, people who have BPD don't realize the extent of pain that they're putting their partner through. They don't get it. They don't understand that. Just like BPD people say, you don't understand me. You don't understand me? I mean, come on, please. You don't get it, man. Never mind. You just don't get it. And the same reason that we destroy stuff and we punch holes in the walls and we reckless drive and all the things that we do as BPD people, we do it because we're not understood and we want to be loved and cared for so bad. But our partners oftentimes can't give us that love or care because they don't know how. If you don't have BPD, you do not know how to love someone who has BPD the way that they want to be loved. Not the way that they need to be loved, because they don't even know that yet before remission, but the way that they want to be loved. Will never be satisfied. They always want this over-the-top love and passion that will literally suck every energy out of every bone in your body. That's unsustainable. And if you give it to them, you will collapse into a pile of bones, no doubt, left with no emotional content in you whatsoever. It will make you an emotionally catatonic individual if you really tried to give them their love. You might have to repin that one by Mark. I'm sorry about that. I missed that one, Mark. I get on some tangents once in a while. If I miss your comments, guys, it's not on purpose. And like Liz says, please do send me an email if you are struggling or have any questions. There's a link in my profile. Mark says, at Sam, is there any way to help her though? Like, I love her and I don't like seeing her upset. Yes, there are ways to help her, Mark, but you're going to have to ask yourself some questions. And this is a very important lesson to understand here. If you're with somebody who has BPD and you need them to get help or you want them to get help, you're going to have to say, hey, do they accept they have BPD? Do they even know about it? Do they accept how BPD has impacted their life? If they at least understand these things, or at least one of them, or at least if they understand there's a problem that they want to see fixed and they want to make it work with you, because those are the two circumstances that you're going to make this work, Mark. You're going to make this work under the circumstances that she admits that she can change something about herself. She doesn't have to accept full culpability for your problems, all of them, but she has to at least accept culpability for some of them, and she has to at least accept that she's culpable for some of them. You see what I'm saying? And if it doesn't, the rest of the details regarding BPD are not important right now. You have to see that she has a will to change as well. If she's not willing to change for the relationship, then it will never work. And you cannot convince her to. We are very stubborn people, Mark. Very stubborn people. But I want you to reach out because I work wonders with certain types of cases like this. I have clients who hire me and their partners do not know that they have BPD. And I have ways to get them on board that are very effective. Good morning, Sue. I saw you in there. And sometimes it takes a little time. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it takes a little time. I shot this video for a client one time. Okay, I'll tell you a story. I shot this video for a client one time who did not believe, his wife did not believe that she had BPD. So he was trying to get her to watch my video. She wouldn't do it. I shot one for her personally. I gave it to him and shared it with her. She said, you know what? No, I don't want to hear this guy. I don't want to hear this guy. And then I said, okay, well, look, man, there's nothing I can do if she's not willing to talk to me even for 5 minutes, right? And these days I have more tactics that I employ because I've gotten much better at it. But this was a year and a half ago or something like that. It took a whole 6 months. And this woman finally contacted me. Please help me. So it works. Sometimes you have to wait a while, but might as well plant that seed now. Just me. He is extra loving, love bombs like crazy, but also high needs in every way, not just from me. Yeah, first off, your BPD person and their delineation of it is going to be different from another BPD person because there's so many manifestations. Now, fortunately for you, I've experienced every single one of them. I was extra loving. I would love bomb like crazy. I had very high needs in every single way, and not just for you, my partner. I also had needs for my friends. I also had demands for the world. I felt like the entire world owed me. I used to, when I was young and I first moved out, I moved out right when I turned 18. I was a serial entrepreneur. I was working hard. I worked 3 jobs. I was busting my butt to survive in the world. And I lived in this really crummy apartment. And it was on the corner of a dealership, a car dealership. And I remember wandering around the corner at night, dreaming about the future. And I would sit there and look inside the windows of this car dealership. And I was so pissed off. I was so pissed off because I thought to myself, I could run this so much better than the people that own this. You know, why can't I just go in there and convince them of that and take over and show them how to run this place? It's because I haven't earned it. I haven't earned it. BPD people in a relationship are the same way. You see, we want you to just give us all these things without earning them. But you can't go into a store, load your shopping cart up, and just wheel your ass out to the car and load them in the trunk. You got to pay for the groceries. If you want your partner to treat you a certain way, you need to show them that you deserve to be treated that way, that you are someone who gets treated that way because you deserve it, right? You have to earn it. Silicon says, have you heard of BPD diagnosis being used in court against you? Yes. This is one of the reasons I say I don't like the diagnosis, because we've had a tumultuous past, right? It's been very difficult for us, especially when you take relationships into consideration. There are two circumstances that, three really, as to why I don't really think the diagnosis is worth it. Because once you know you have it, you know you have it. You don't really need that. There's no medicine for it. There's nothing, there's no benefit to having it besides that feeling of validation that you now fit in with it, right? But like you already know that. You're already welcome here. This is the place to be. You want to get better? You're going to get better here. That's what it is, okay? First, I didn't want a diagnosis now. Now, this is me looking back. I wouldn't have wanted it and I wouldn't have pursued it if I would have known these things. The stigma. I wouldn't have done it if I knew the stigma behind what it meant to have a diagnosis, right? Because mental health professionals everywhere will reject me if I go to get help, right? Pre-remission, because we're a nightmare, they think. And they're right about that. But that means there's less help, less hope. Two, you can get denied life insurance. Life insurance will deny the hell out of somebody who has a BPD diagnosis, and they'll find out. They find out on their own. I know I got denied 100 times. I had to fight for 6 months to get my wife life insurance. And I was in remission. I had to prove it to him. It was terrible. And of course, three, it can be used against you in court without doubt. No doubt about that. I see that all the time. So Zeta says, how do I tell my partner that I think he might have BPD without him getting offended or judged? I'll tell you, Zeta, how it happened for me because my parents, they didn't believe in mental illness, and I grew up in an invalidating environment where I couldn't even have an opportunity to get help. So I went into my adult life completely screwed over, thinking I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. There's no such thing as mental illness, right? Well, I was fighting that with my partner at the time. I moved out with my high school sweetheart, got married right away, regretted the hell out of that. That was a bad relationship. But guess what? BPD made it worse. So here I am tearing my relationship up. And eventually I start to say, maybe there is something wrong with me because it's obviously bad, right? I did not believe that there was something called BPD. I didn't know about BPD. I didn't know, but I wouldn't have believed it. And my partner was trying to figure out what was wrong with me. She's like trying to diagnose me, so to speak. She's on forums and whatever, social media wasn't as big like that back then. And eventually she comes in the room because she knew I wouldn't accept it. And she had stories in her hand. And she said, read these stories. What do you think? And I start reading them. It's like, I'm reading this. It's like a girl's story. It's like her sister betrayed her and she went into her closet and cut up all of her clothes or something like that was the first story. And I'm like, yeah, I get why she did that. Like her sister deserved that. She had that coming. You see this? What is that, right? I flipped to the next one. It's like a relationship one. You guys are going to have to repin this Laura comment here. We'll get to you in a second. The second story is a little bit more aggressive, and I'm like, I get it. I understand why you did it. This is why I say this to you. You hear this? Are you getting this? This is why you have to get treated this way by me. I'm like using it as justification, right? I get to the last story, I read through it, and I pass the papers back to her, and she's like, you have borderline personality disorder. And then she just walked out of the door and left me with that thought. And then I went and identified, she sent me an email, and I see where she got the stories from, and I'm like, oh my God, I have this condition. What the hell? It was undeniable. So maybe try that. That was a good one. Or show them some of my videos, for instance. Laura says, both my girlfriend and I have BPD. Some days are really difficult to get through. Yes, but some days are also very magical. Two BPD people can absolutely survive in a relationship together. It can 100% work, Laura. So, chin up, keep positive. If you want it to work and she wants it to work, then it can work as long as both people have a will to negotiate, a will to compromise, a will to change certain things that need to be changed. And that can be a beautiful relationship. It really can. So I don't want you to give up because of the hard days. I want you to understand how you can better communicate. Don't wish that it were easier. Wish that you were better. Don't ask that it were handed to you. Ask for more skills, right? Because skills really do solve problems, guys. Skills can change your entire world. Now, before remission, you're lacking really two things here: skills and perspective changes and self-validation. Both things improve a relationship. I want to point out that our BPD remission program specifically sets you up to succeed in a relationship. We bundle that in, and everybody's remission program is custom, okay? And Dan Willie, let's see, BPD, my son is an electrician and textbook, not medicated, loses a job every 3 months, and then goes downhill. Ironically, I was an electrician for a little while. I did have to work a couple jobs at certain parts of my life when times were really hard trying to build businesses, especially when I was a young man, right? And the job that I would work would be an electrician, one of them, most of the time. And I quit all the time. It's because, we have a lot of complexes going on. We do get bored really easily we like new things. We need to explore these new things. All of that is very important in the process. If we get too bored, we will leave, and that's the same for a relationship. If the relationship is too boring, sometimes we'll leave because of that. Okay, so the excitement factor is important. It is. By the way, guys, I'm going to drop this out there. Hopefully, you don't mind, Liz, but I got to say something. I got to give a huge shout out to Liz. You might see Miss Liz in the chat here. Uh, Liz she was in the program, but now she is a moderator, you might notice. Okay. You can't be a moderator here while you're in the program, which means that Liz has to have graduated from the program to be able to be a moderator. So if you guys have a second to congratulate her, all of our regulars, she's there, guys. She just got there. She's feeling great. And I'm so proud of you, Liz. I'm so proud of you. You moved very well and you were extremely open minded. And I have every bit of faith in you succeeding in the world. So good job in your journey. That is exceptional. You hit it like a warrior, like I knew you would. And anybody can get to remission, guys, exactly like Liz. You can do it. You can do it. You just have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, then of course you'll never make it. Liz believed in herself. I don't know, Liz, how long have we been working together? Would you mind telling me? Because time flies for me. When did you get on board? Was it about 2 months ago or less? You could get better fast. You don't have to suffer in your relationships anymore. You don't have to suffer in life. Yeah, since Feb. We've been working together since February. She's been working with me for a month and like a week or something like that. And she is the best version of herself. It's amazing because she chose to trust in the program. It is what you make it. If you commit, you get better. And everybody has seen, listen here in our chat, she's been a staple in our community. Do you see how involved she was before she got to remission, man? Do you see how involved she was? She is an example of what it takes to do this program and get through it successfully. Liz doesn't even have to use her last session. She's got it in her back pocket for the future in case she gets into a new relationship and sees a couple triggers that we hadn't had a chance to discuss. We can go ahead and hit those. And we're talking about the future. Last night we had our third session together, and Liz and I are having a conversation about certain stuff, and we're noticing this conversation is not really about any problems. We're talking about hilarious stuff, and I'm bringing up, so what would happen if this happened? And she's like, oh, well, that's easy, X, Y, and Z. That's not a big deal. Liz, you wouldn't have been able to say that a month and a half ago. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got it, man. You got it. And that's the beautiful part. I can see where they are the whole time on the ladder here. I know exactly where you are when you contact me. I know because I've been there before. I've been there. And this is exactly how it works. When you're in the session with a client and you're not any longer talking about problems, that's a good sign, man. That's a good sign for us. Mark says, last question before I check out your link. Do you have any tips to help with my relationship? Mark, I have so many tips for you, my friend. I have so many things to say to you. My heart goes out to you. I really want you to reach out to me and tell me the whole story. It may take a day or two for me to get back to you because I get a lot of emails. I always do my best, but I will. And I will put my heart into you like I put my heart into Liz. And then all you have to do is follow my voice. That's it. I am a fancy GPS that never shuts up. That's me. Liz did it on her own. She just needed a roadmap. She took the roadmap and she followed it. Easy peasy, okay? I was a relationship coach before I was a BPD coach. I work on the relationship while I work on BPD. I am the guy to talk to if you want to make that work, and I will guide you correctly one way or the other, no matter what. I will point you in the right direction. So take a minute and send me an email. Sue says, how can you manage splits on my elderly father who lives with me, attacking his habits and dementia? I'm assuming that you're talking about somebody with BPD and the household is splitting on your elderly father who is, having dementia, right? I think that's what you mean here. Some circumstances are less than ideal for someone with BPD who is unmanaged, and if they are in a place where they are attacking, your father, for instance, who has dementia. Ideally, you would not want those two people in the same household because the BPD person does not understand the damage that they are doing. They're not far enough along yet if they are attacking an elderly man with dementia, for example. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? So they're not far enough along to understand the damage that they're causing. The father in the picture, he's going to be struggling because he's not going to understand what's happening either. The erratic behavior is beyond the scope of his capacity at this point. So unfortunately, it sounds like you are the fulcrum point between those two pieces. And that's a difficult spot to be in. So you are in the right place here. I see you all the time, Sue. You're a client. I enjoy working with you. I know that we're going to make a huge impact, but I do need you to understand that being the fulcrum means that you're carrying all of the weight, all of the stress. This is why I get excited whenever I know that you're going to relax, because you don't get a chance to do that very often. And it's very hard for you to swing in between these two pillars, trying to, manage feelings for two people that are responsible for their own feelings, but can't do it. That's a hard situation. I only think that persistence and trying different strategies, and in our case, we have our next phase and our next strategy coming up here, and I have very high hopes for this one. I believe that we can get him on board. So keep your faith, Sue. Keep your faith. I believe fully, and I have not lost an ounce of faith. I'm here with you, okay, the whole way. Sixta says, someone told me I must be misdiagnosed because I don't show my rage. I'd rather rage on myself. That sounds like quiet borderline personality disorder where you internalize things. So that is a delineation of BPD. There are all different types of BPD, guys, all different types. Now, fortunately for all of you, I have suffered from all different types. In fact, there's no part of borderline personality disorder that I haven't suffered from. Fortunately for me, I've been through it all. It's not easy living with this. And you do have a lot of misdiagnoses out there. I got diagnosed with massive depressive disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, ADHD, PTSD, bipolar disorder, agoraphobia. Like, I could just go down a list of giant things, anger issues, general anxiety, panic disorder. All of these were diagnoses I got, right? And I even narcissistic personality disorder, got that one too, right? BPD is at the top of the pyramid, as I always say. All the other ones are underneath it. If you take the top of the pyramid off and you cure it, the rest of it just dissolves. I see it happen all the time. The things that we are trying to beat, we don't understand their position in our mind. The doctor says, okay, I'm going to give them a pill for depression. They have borderline personality disorder. There is no medicine for borderline personality disorder. I'm going to give them a pill for depression and then check up with them in 3 months and see how they're doing, right? You're taking your depression pill or whatever, and if it's helping, great. Stay on it. That's fine, man. There's nothing wrong with that if it's working. Sometimes it's not. Most of the time it's not. You get lucky sometimes, and you get a medicine that actually does positively impact you. But other times, most of the time, there's negative side effects that are so severe you don't want to take it. You know what I mean? So you have to learn these skills. You have to learn these perspective changes. You have to learn to validate. You have to learn to treat your partner better. You have to learn how to interact with them better. Communication. You need all these skills, and then you won't have all these problems. Nobody has ever taught you how to live with this condition. Nobody has ever told you it's a superpower in disguise, and you don't have to be ashamed of it. You see what I'm saying? We need to stop wasting time on the things that don't matter and start spending time on the things that do matter. That's the only way out. Ashley says, good morning, Ashley. I think my dad has BPD. Lately, my mom has been having a harder time with him splitting.
Well, Ashley, BPD, it can go incognito, it can go undiagnosed, it can go overlooked, it can go untreated for a long time. And he very well may have it. I mean, if you are studying BPD as you are, I see you in here all the time, right? Ashley, I think we even have a meeting today, don't we? I think I see you today, if I'm not mistaken, or soon, but I'm thinking it's today. Anyway, you would probably know if splitting was a thing. That's the truth. And if you guys are trying to be seen or heard, and I look forward to our meeting, Ashley, you will have to be hyper vigilant, about trying to identify traits in yourself, trying to identify traits in your family, and trying to improve yourself. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't ask for things to lighten up, earn more skills, right? So maybe there's things that you can do to try to help that situation. Maybe there's a way I can help with that situation if you firmly believe that. But I'm curious to learn more, and we'll talk today. Jackie says, how do you suggest controlling the hypersexuality, being single, while learning to control the BPD? Well, we're hypersexual because we need validation, and a lot of us have touch as a love language, and intimacy is a big deal to us. And if we don't get intimacy, we don't feel love. So, for me, it was very simple. It didn't even go that deep. If my wife would walk by me and just touch my shoulder, I feel alive and I feel loved and I feel a light bulb go on. It's like I feel amazing. If she walks by me and just walks right past me and doesn't reach out, I feel pain and suffering and hurt. This is pre-remission, what it's like to live with this condition. This is an example of it. One delineation. That intimacy can make or break a relationship too, because you will beg for it. You will chase it. You will try to beat your partner into submission that you're right. You need to do this. You need to do that. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? If you love me, you'd say blah, 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 blah. And you just keep going and going and going and going and going. That's hard on our partners. And that creates trauma. And that's the entire lesson today. BPD is in the relationship with you. It's in all of your relationships. It's in your friendships. It's in your family life. It's in your romantic relationships. It's in your relationships with your workplace and all of the people there. And it influences them. And the closer people are, the more of the negative coping mechanisms they're going to see. And that builds trauma, which is residual, which eventually bites you in the butt. If you don't handle it, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. This condition will rot your relationship from the inside out if you do not handle it. You absolutely must handle it. You must handle this condition. You must be willing to say something has to change. And this is a monster. Let me explain this to you. This is a monster living in your relationship. It is living in it full time, okay? And if it's not eliminated, it will eat your relationship alive. At some point, you're going to have to be a hero. You really are. No one's going to do this for you. You're going to have to do this on your own. I can help you, and I would love to help you, but most people don't know how. If you reach out and we team up together and we're beating BPD, I will gladly put my armor on and draw my sword and help you fight this dragon. I swear to God I will. It's what I do, man. I fight dragons every day, and I'm a veteran at it, all right? I've slain a lot of dragons. So what may look like a really big battle to you, I can assure you we can do it together very quickly. But I believe in you, and I believe in your ability, no matter what, to fight this dragon yourself. And I need you to know that. You need to know that. I missed this one. Was it my family sees me as too draining? So even more misunderstood and lost to myself. I think that's the one that was up there. Yeah, most people get sick of us. And here's Nikki's first part of the question. I internalize my rage mostly, and then I just erupt out of control and SH, when we really beat ourselves up, if you know what I'm talking about, okay? And risky behavior. I was exactly like you, Nikki. I internalized until I exploded. I would sit around trying to grit my teeth, promising I'd never have an episode again, knowing it's a damn lie. And I would eventually explode because I wasn't handling the triggers. I wasn't handling the emotional tank. I was letting it build up. And I was trying my best to just hold it in, not understanding that if I don't address the issues, if I don't drain the tank, as we call it draining the emotional tank, then I will eventually have an episode or a split. Eventually, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. So I need you to understand that there are ways out. Nikki, if you haven't emailed me, please do. I see you in here all the time, and I'd love to help. I really would. A lot of people are scared to reach out and email me. They're terrified of it. You know, it's not because they're terrified of me, because I'm a really nice guy, and I'm never going to say anything negative. I mean, you could call me all the names in the book, and I'd still help you. I don't judge. I don't hold grudges like that. I just want to see you better. The reason people are terrified to email me is because I represent change. And people with BPD, you have to want it. You have to want it. If you don't want that change, then you will not succeed in this program. You will not reach out to me because change is scary. Change is effing scary, man. I remember what it was like. I didn't want to get better. I was scared it was going to change my personality, change who I am, get rid of my charisma, get rid of my drive, my ambition, my hard work ethic, my intelligence. I thought it was going to turn me into a zombie, that I'd end up locked up in a psych ward, because that's how crazy I was, you know? I was worried about getting locked up for the entire rest of my life. That kept me from getting help. And then when I tried to get help, it kept me from telling the truth. Because I had to roll my sleeves down, didn't want them to see all my SH and all the problems I had. And I had to just lie. I had to lie. And you can't get better when you're lying. I couldn't talk about my SI, you know, wanting to end it all kind of thing. Couldn't talk about that stuff. I was terrified, man. Totally terrified. And it kept me from getting better for years. I want you to know something. Most of our fears are just, it's pointless, but some of them are real. Like if you go to certain people and you tell them certain things, therapists and doctors, they really will call somebody. They're mandated reporters. The Wild Child says, how do you deal with the toxic ex, his, and handle the BPD in itself? How do you handle a toxic ex and his BPD in itself? Well, if your ex has BPD and you're considering them toxic, I imagine that they're still trying to involve themselves in your life. Maybe they feel abandoned. Maybe they're trying to cling on because they want to feel validated by you still, because they don't have anyone else to replace you with. Because that is the toxicity of BPD before a remission. We will move from person to person to person to person to person without any hesitation. Anybody who's willing to give us remotely close to what we want, we will entertain them. We need that attention because that's the only way we've learned how to validate ourselves. And I hate that is the case. Most of us in this channel who have BPD, who aren't in remission, will not like hearing half of the stuff that comes out of my mouth. But you know it's true. So the first step here is come here every day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m., US EST, interact with us. Post your comments, your questions to David Keck, our trauma coach at Sensitive Stability. You'll see him in here every morning. He works incredible things on the trauma end here. He is a part of the program too, because you have to have both. You have to have what I have to offer. You also have to have everything resolved on his end. If you don't have your trauma resolved, then you will struggle, because in the future, those traumas will bubble up. They will bubble up. Everything you've held down, it will bubble up and become a problem, okay? So you absolutely must have the trauma part under control. And some of that is residual relationship trauma. Things like, your past failures in this relationship, where you have fought, where you have disagreed, where you have screamed at each other, where you have raised the volume so loud glass is broken. Sometimes the glass breaks because you're throwing a chair through the window. You know what I'm saying? That's traumatic. Those things must be addressed. Otherwise, you will not succeed in the relationship, because it will always keep coming up. You have to learn to forgive. You have to learn to forget. You have to learn to start fresh. You have to learn to press the damn reset button. And that is part of this. We absolve you of your sins, so to speak, because you need that. You felt guilt, blame, shame, and embarrassment your whole life. It's about time you stop and you start focusing on what you can do about it, right? Take responsibility. Take responsibility, guys. I think that this is one of the big things after a BPD diagnosis. You find yourself questioning all your past. Yes, silicon fiber, you are right. You start questioning all of your past after the diagnosis, and that is a helpful part. I will admit that. But you still have that experience anyway, even if you just start identifying with BPD. When I realized I had this condition, I had this giant, that was my first epiphany. You know how I always talk about, guys, that BPD remission is an epiphany-based journey? It's an epiphany-based journey. You hear me talk, and some of the things I say just light a light bulb in your head, and you're like, oh my God. And now you're upset because you're looking at your past saying, I can't believe I was like this for the last 8, 9 years, or 12 years, or my whole life, or whatever it may be. And it's devastating sometimes, and other times it's just relieving. Most of the time, it feels euphoric because you're saying, I know I'll never be the same again. I know that my life will be changed forever. It's insane. And I love watching the epiphanies happen. I see it on your face sometimes during our sessions. And I'm just like, it's why I do what I do. I do what I do because I want to make the biggest dent I can in the universe. I want the world to look at me when I walk into the room, and I want them to say, what are you? What are you? What is that just walked into the room? Look at the fire in that person's eyes. And I want to be able to change the whole demeanor of the room for the best. Okay? And you have that ability too if you have borderline personality disorder. It is an innate talent. Silicon says, and all the decisions you made, was it BPD or was it actually you? You are not your circumstances. You are not BPD. BPD is a superpower in disguise, though. Okay? It's a superpower in disguise. Batman's parents died. That is why he's Batman. That is why he's Batman. The bad stuff had to happen. People say, do you have shame for your trauma point? I had a very traumatic, very bad thing happen to me when I was 6 years old. Very, very bad. Some of you may have heard, because in our sessions, I'm very honest about things, and I share my experiences too, which is what makes my program so successful here. It's because it's experience-based, it's customized, and I go with you the entire way. We're working together on a daily basis. You're no longer alone. 24/7 tech support, right? Well, you know, when BPD formed, it changed me. It afflicted me. But BPD is actually a superpower, and I would not take back the trauma. Believe it or not, it had to happen. This was the best thing that ever happened to me, ultimately. It's weird to say. I have a BPD partner, and someone told me that he can't feel true love, and he just idealizes me. Is that true? Zeta, your partner may put you on a pedestal. It does not mean necessarily that the love isn't real. Could it? Could it be just, a favorite person thing? It could be. But I'm willing to bet that they do truly love you. They don't know how to properly love you, though, which is why you're on the pedestal, and it's probably building some type of uncomfortable feeling for somebody. I always say that the pedestal complex is healthy if you do it right. I put my wife on a pedestal, right? Well, if that makes her uncomfortable, then that's unhealthy. If I'm doing so much for her, she can't keep up, that she's uncomfortable, and I notice she's getting uncomfortable, I'm giving her one too many massages or something of the nature, I back off. I stop giving so many massages, right? So I made it healthy. The second clause is if you are sacrificing dignity or self-respect, or you're building resentment when you're doing these things, okay? Then it's unhealthy. Shell says, how do we stop ourselves from self-sabotage, destruction when we are hurt? The reason that you're self-sabotaging, Shell, the reason that you are destroying your property, your phones, and everything around you, and making threats and all the things that we do, is because you're hurting so much inside and you can't express it properly, and you have let the emotions build in your emotional tank so high that they got to a point where it's full. One last trigger hits and falls into the bucket, it explodes. And where does it fall? Falls next to the tank, next to you, and it hits the people closest to you. It's going to fall on the people closest to you. Your partner, your romantic partner, your best friends, whoever it happens to be around at the time. Okay, so we didn't drain the emotional tank. Raina says, how to differentiate between thoughts and decisions that are BPD related or mine. All of your thoughts are yours. All of your thoughts are yours. We have a filter in the brain that controls our thoughts, all of them. All thoughts that you have are subject to passing through this filter, and they may or may not be affected. So I wouldn't look at it from the perspective of how do I separate thoughts from what's mine or what's BPD. They're all your thoughts. The real question is, how do I determine which thoughts are unhealthy? Okay? And we talk about this from the perspective of social norm, which means what most people believe. So if you are having doubts that one of the thoughts in your mind, might not be good, you say, well, let me look at the rest of the world. What does the rest of the world, the people inside these two lines here that live in here, normal social norm, what do they think about the situation? If you find that your idea falls way outside over here or way outside over here, it's probably a hint that you are suffering from some type of delineation of BPD in that moment. Some type of symptom is manifesting. Do you see what I'm saying here? Sage says, how can I help myself to not become attached to new friends? I'm trying so hard. We jump from person to person to person to person, whether it's romantic or friends or group or affiliation or idea or concept or job, because we don't know who we are, Sage. We don't know who we are. And I can help you figure this out. I can help you find out who you are for real. And I already know who you are. I already know. That's the secret. I already know who each and every one of you are because you're me. And I was you. The only difference between us, if you're in this channel right now listening to me talk and you have borderline personality disorder, I've been in remission for 6.5 years. That's the difference. So I got rid of all the negative coping mechanisms. I got rid of all the negative behaviors. And I amplified the positive traits of BPD to where now I can touch people's hearts across the internet. And I try so desperately to do that. When I'm talking to you guys, I am not just looking into you. I am going through this camera and touching your heart through the internet. You notice how that happens? That is a BPD superpower, and each and every one of you have that same power. You have that same power. You can do it. You could do it just like I can do it, and you need to start believing that. Everybody keeps telling you guys you can't get better. Good morning, AJ. I just seen you in there just now. Everybody's telling you guys it's impossible. You're stuck with this for life. And they are dirty, dirty liars. They don't know it. They actually believe what they're telling you. And that's the bigger problem. The bigger problem is they actually believe that you can't get better. That's bullshit, man. And you cannot fall victim to this negative mentality. Katie says, thought we can't be fixed. You can be fixed. We get to remission in 2 months or less on average, like 76%. And now I haven't done that stat in about a month now. I believe it's gone up. I believe we are higher than 76%. Everybody gets better working in this program. Even if you don't make it in the 2 months, you're like a week or two behind. It requires a couple tweaks and that's it. Nobody's ever told you guys that you can cure this. That is the problem that we have here. This is the only place on earth where somebody is talking about a BPD cure. It's the only place I've ever heard, ever seen. I've tried everything out there. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work because there's all these reasons as to why it doesn't work. They don't care. They don't invest themselves. They haven't experienced it. They don't have the right skills. They can't explain it right. They go home and have dinner with their family and go to soccer practice with their kids, and then they go lay next to their bed and with their partner at the end of the day. And you and I are running around the house punching holes in the walls. They're not there for us at the time. Do you see what I'm saying? But we are. 24/7 tech support, and it matters. Zeta says, should a BPD person read the Walking on Eggshells book, or is it meant for the partner? The BPD Walking on Eggshells book is, it's mainly meant for the partner, in my opinion. But I read it, and it was amazing. And it was amazing, and it was to the point where I recommended it to my partner. You know what I mean? I like that book. It's one of the books I recommend. David and I, David is our trauma coach at Sensitive Stability. You'll see him in the chat. We're writing a book. We're almost done. And, we're in the process of figuring out the publishing details of that and getting it medically reviewed and all that stuff. And it's very exciting. This is going to be the most comprehensive book on borderline personality disorder the world has ever seen. It's going to blow stop walking on eggshells out of the water. But as you all know, if you're regulars, I regularly recommend Stop Walking on Eggshells and I Hate You, Don't Leave Me, 2 very good books. Katie says it makes the guilt so much worse. Katie, let me tell you something here. I'm going to help you right now, okay? I'm going to give you something right now to walk away from so that you can feel better, okay? So listen very carefully. This is for you, Katie. You and I have felt guilt, blame, shame, and embarrassment our entire lives, our whole lives. We experience it to an extreme degree that is by far from normal. It is extremely far from what normal grief is, from what normal blame or guilt is. You can't afford to feel this way anymore. You have used all your blame, all your shame, all your embarrassment, all your guilt. You need to drop the guilt. You can't experience guilt anymore because you are stealing away from your normal days. You're stealing away from the time that you could be putting into getting better by feeling guilty. And that guilt will never help. It will never help you. And no one cares that you're guilty. You're the only one who cares. In fact, they're sick of it. They want you to stop feeling guilty. They want you to feel better. And you want to feel better too. So no more guilt, Katie. No more shame, no more embarrassment, okay? No more blame. Do not blame yourself. Do not blame any other person or any other thing. The moment that someone takes responsibility for this condition and they acknowledge the degree that this has impacted their life and those around you, that's when there's a fire in your eyes and you're ready to change. And when you're ready to change, you can move extremely fast, just like Liz, just like everyone else who graduates from the program. It's possible for anybody here. Anybody in here who is doubting themselves, I can't get better, I can't do it, my life's never going to improve. There's no way. Guys, that's negative thinking. Don't you understand? That's negative thinking. You cannot fall victim to negative thinking anymore. You absolutely must be positive. You must chin up. You got to put your armor on. You got to draw your sword and you got to fight the dragon because nobody's going to do it for you. Except I'll go in with you. I get into the trenches with you. No problem, man. No problem at all. You reach out, email me, tell me your story, and be transparent and honest. I'm not a mandated reporter. I'm not here to cause consequences. I'm not here to get anybody in trouble. You have to have one damn place in the world where you can actually be honest and tell somebody the truth and get help. You can't get help with a therapist who you can't tell everything to. You can't get help getting put on medicines and only seeing the doctor for 15 minutes every 6 months. What the hell, man? You know, how does that make any sense? Katie says, can you tell me if borderline is a chemical imbalance or not, or because it's a personality disorder? It's a personality disorder, but that doesn't mean that we don't have imbalances. Our biggest problems, in my opinion, come down to a lower opioid level. The lower opioid level is what makes us predisposed to all the crappy feelings in the world, okay? And yeah, welcome here, Katie, you know, and nice to see you, Ruth. Ruth, I see your email in there. I wasn't able to get to it, okay? But I do see you in there, and hopefully I will have time to grab that today at some point. At worst case, it will be later tonight, but I will get it at some point, and I want you to understand that I appreciate your patience. I really do. But anyway, Katie, you know, you're able to do it, and we can fix the problems with this low opioid count. That is what makes you predisposed to feeling all negative emotions of all kinds. You need to be able to replace it with life. You know that trite statement you hear where people say, I'm high on life? Well, you can actually get high on life. It's a real thing. And it's so much better than any of the substances or negative coping mechanisms that we have been using our whole lives. You just don't know it yet. It's real. I feel incredible. When Liz got to remission and I realized yesterday that she was there, when I saw it and I see it and I know it, oh man, I felt amazing. It changes. I still have a high from that. I still feel that inside. I'm like, dude, what is Liz going to do in her life? Where can she go now? This isn't holding her back. It's now a power. She's acting, walking, talking exactly like me, doing it exactly right. She knows exactly what to say. She is doing it now. Okay? AJ is doing it now. AJ's been there for a while. Okay? David reminds us, Trauma Tuesday Live, 10 p.m. US EST. This is our morning show. This is Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. US EST for those of you who are new. Okay? And if you want to see us again today, because the show ends in about 5 minutes today, we will be available at 10 p.m. tonight, where David and I both come on together, and David is our trauma coach at Sensitive Stability. He kind of talks with me and leads the show, and he steers the ship, so to speak. So if you'd like to see some about the trauma side, a little bit more about the trauma side, then tune in tonight at 10 p.m. And guys, I'm going to start wrapping it up here. So if I missed your questions, because we're at the point where we can't pin them anymore, please do email me. Click on my profile, email me. Remember that we have a Discord. Click on the profile, go to the link tree. You'll see a Discord link. That's where the conversation continues after the live. You'll see a lot of the same friendly faces you're seeing here. David and I will pop in there. Liz is in there. AJ's in there. Jeremy's in there, of which he started his new job. So I'm thinking about you, Jeremy, if you see this recording and you were here in spirit, okay? Thank you, Emmy. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nikki. Guys, this community is so great because it's one of the places that we can all be honest, open, support each other, and we all don't judge. We know exactly what the hell we're going through. We're all in the same boat to some degree. Whether you have BPD or you're a partner and you're here, you're in this boat. We're in the boat together. Now we can either let it sink or we can start working together to patch the hell out of this boat and get better. Come to the lives every day. You know what made Liz move so fast through the BPD remission program? I looked at her count. She's been showing up every single day to these lives. She's been interactive in the chat. She's been pumping her heart and soul into this to get better. She's been taking what I'm saying seriously. When I say jump, she jumps every time. And she started sprinting. She started sprinting, jumping over hurdles. Incredible, man. That's an example of somebody who did it extremely fast because they put their mind to it. And they did not take no for an answer. They did not give up. They refused to admit defeat. She did not admit defeat. Do you guys understand that? She didn't let this condition take her to the grave. She fought. She got up. She put her armor on. She drew a sword and she fought. And I fought with her and we fought together and we fought fast. Okay? And now, just like Grendel, we emerged from the bellows of hell, which is where we were living, holding Grendel's head, and the only thing that remains are all the positive parts that come from the condition, the superpowers. The superpowers, okay? So, guys, everybody, if you're here, I'm going to tell you, you have what it takes. You have the ability to choose your future. You have the ability to get better. You have the ability to make the choice. You don't have to stay trapped in this anymore, okay? You don't have to live life like this. You don't have to think negative anymore. You can let the negative thoughts go. For the first time in your life, somebody's telling you, and listen very carefully because it's real. You can get to remission in less than 2 months. Less than 2 months. No one has ever told you this before. Okay? You have to understand you're just missing a few things. I know that the condition feels like it's the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody and you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. I get it. But the second you start realizing that you have more power than you ever knew, that you ever could dream of being possible, that you could move mountains for real, that when they tell you as a kid you can be whatever you want when you grow up, and then you find out later that might not be true, not so. Not for you. For you, you really can be anything. We are the people that make real dents in the universe. We are the people that spark fire in other people's souls. We are the people who believe in the rest of the world, even if they don't believe in themselves. We are the optimism. We are success. We are victory. We are the ones that drive everyone else forward when they're down. Now it's time that you believe in yourself. Now it's time that you drive yourself forward. Make the decision, guys, please. I'm begging you, because that's why I do this every day. I do this because I know you're hurting, and I know you need help, and I know you're looking for a hand. This is the hand, and I'm reaching out. Email us, guys. Don't give up. Make the decision today. You can get better. I believe in you. If nobody else ever has, I believe in you. We'll catch you guys tonight, 10 p.m. US EST. Thanks for tuning in to the Sensitive Stability BPD Live Show, and thank you to our moderators. See you all tonight, and see you tomorrow morning. Have a nice day.